Hello and welcome to tutorial 214, and in this tutorial what we're going to be doing is creating rectangles which are between the high and the low of a weekly period. So this is similar to tutorial 212, but rather than doing this for a day, we're doing it for a week. And then those rectangles are colored based on how big they are in comparison with the previous day, and also where the highs and lows are in relation to each other between the 2 days. So let me go through the program quickly, and hopefully this will be useful to you. So the first thing that we need to do is determine how whether there has been a new week. So we use this way of finding a week number. This is bar DateTime dot format, and then there's a specific code. In this case, quotes %u. So let me just show you the various codes that are available, because this may be useful for something else. But we can use %u in this case. So if we right click on bar DateTime, and then we go to the DateTime class, and if we just go down, you'll see here format codes. Click on that, and then that will open up, and you can see all the format codes. So in this case, week of year as a decimal number, Sunday as the first day. You could also, if you're a Monday as the start of the week person, use %w. That's there for your reference. So what we do when the week number is different from the week number of the previous bar, we know that we have a new week. And so what we do is reset our variables that are going to be keeping track of the highs and lows of the week, the previous week, and the week before that. First of all, we're going to delete. Now, there are two boxes drawn on this. There's one that we draw backwards for the week at the end whenever we get a new week. So the way the program works is when we get to the end of a week, what we do is draw the box for that week. This is for historic bars. But the other way is that on the last box of the chart, on the last week of the chart, for that we actually draw a box from the last bar on chart to the first bar of that week. And then we keep that updated and extended as the week develops, as also as the highs and lows potentially change. So they're the two. This one that's being developed as the chart develops is called last box, and these ones we call box. So that was placed using box, and so on as we go back on the chart. So the first thing we do, having set these variables, is we delete last box. In other words, the box that was created during the development of the last week. The week has now ended, so we need to delete it because we're going to add a box. And we first of all get the date time, DT end time, and that is the last date time of the previous week. We can get that using the syntax date time from EL date and time, and we put in the date of the previous bar, the int portion of the time of the previous bar, the frac portion time of the previous bar times 100. That's going to give us, that's the correct syntax for creating the last bar of the week in DateTime format. Then we say if the start time is not equal to null, then we're going to draw our first rectangle. And that is using a method called DrawRectangle, and you can see that up here. And essentially it returns a rectangle, and it's got the inputs, got the start date time, the end date time, and the price high, price low, and a boolean as to whether we're going to extend it, which we don't use in this tutorial. Having got those values, we convert those into date time points using dt point create. We do that for the start and the end of the rectangle. Then we create the rectangle as follows using rectangle.create, setting the fill pattern as 0, which is solid fill. The rectangle weight 0, so we have a 0 border weight. We set it to be true so that the rectangle doesn't disappear on the next tick, and then we need to set extend right to extend, and in this case we're not using that, we just got that set to false. And then we add that to the chart and we return the rectangle. So go back to the things that we're doing at the end of the week. The other thing we need to do is we need to color the rectangle, and that's using another method. And what we put into this other method called ColorRectangle, we've got the rectangle we're trying to color. Then we've got the recent high, recent low, older high, older low. So in terms of the chart, what those are, this would be if we were comparing, well, let's just say we're comparing this box to this box. This would be the recent high, recent low. This would be the older high, older low. And then depending on those values, the colors are changed. So for example, you can see if the high, low of the most recent box are greater than the high minus the low of the box before that, then we would set the color to be color 1, which is a user input, and so forth for the other colors. And then finally we set the date time point. This is going to be useful the next time that we run this method, because we need to know the DT start time of the new box. Okay, so as the bars develop throughout the chart, we're using high is greater than the highest. If high is greater than the highest high, then highest high becomes high. If low is lower than the lowest low, then lowest low becomes low. So that keeps an update of the highest high and the lowest low, which incidentally was reset a new week began. And then finally, if it's the last bar on the chart, we need to draw the last box. So remember the previous one where we're drawing the box at the end of a week, we're using box. When we're drawing it, when there's a week ongoing, we're using last box. We use the same method. We use that DT start time that we just stored, and then we use the value of the current bar. We change that into a date time using, again, the from EL date and time syntax. Then we've got the highest high and lowest low, and false because we don't want to extend it. So that's how it's first drawn, but as the bars develop, obviously the highest high might change, the lowest low might change, and certainly the date's going to change. So what we need to do is create a start DT point, and we set that to be equal to the DT start time. That doesn't change, and we use lowest low. And then the end DT point, we're using the date and time of the current bar, and we're setting that to be the highest high. And then we just say last box set start point and last box set end point, and use those values to extend the new box that's being drawn. And of course we need to check the color, and again we use the color rectangle method that we've just been through to do that, to decide what the color is. Now apart from that, covered mostly everything. Obviously we've got inputs and variables, and I've also included the following namespaces which were necessary for this program. So elsystem.drawing for color and font characteristics, etc. elsystem.drawing objects, that is used to manipulate the drawing tools rectangles in the chart window, and then elsystem is required for the DateTime class. Anyway, hopefully you might find this useful. Feel free to type it in yourself, or if you wish, you can download it for a small fee at markplex.com. Also consider joining the markplex.com email list, and also joining GoldPass. Thank you very much.